What's going on, guys? CTG Matt back here with the title. Today we're talking about 5 players who have outperformed their contract during the 24-25 NBA season. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this type of video. Let me know down in the comments if you guys want to see another one, if you enjoyed this one. Let's go. First, we have to set some parameters. A couple of parameters I have. No rookie scale contract, so obviously a first-round pick, a late first-round pick, making $3 million is going to outperform his deal. So no rookie scale deals. That means no players on a team option or no players on a qualifying offer. No players with a max extension starting next season, i.e. guys like Alperen Sengun or Trey Murphy before he got hurt, obviously. Obviously, Sengun's outperformed his payday this year, but next year's over $30 million, so, I'm not counting that. And the third parameter is the toughest one to fit. No contracts over $10 million this season. That's a really tough parameter to fit, but I could do it anyways. It was honestly not that hard. Originally, I set the parameter at $20 million, but I was like, I could sneak under 10 and still get a video in and get 5 players in. Like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy. The first player we're going to be talking about is Gary Trent Jr. He's only making $2 million, the league minimum this season with the Milwaukee Bucks. For a little while, in my eyes, Gary Trent was kind of overpaid with Portland, then Toronto. He had some stops in there where it felt like he was getting a little bit too much money. Portland was paying him for what he could be, his top end, and he just never really became more than just a catch and shoot guy. He never really became the star or the second co-star type guy that they'd hoped for, so he was overpaid for a little while. Now he's hardly paid at all. He's getting the league minimum. Hey, for somebody like me, league minimum is good money, but if you're talking about a guy who was getting paid $18 million a few seasons ago, $2 million is definitely a big drop-off for him. Sub $3 million for a guy who's shown to be a very valuable offensive piece for this Milwaukee Bucks team. With Bobby Portis down and with key contributors down, Gary Trent Jr. has been a pretty consistent guy for them. He's averaging 10.5 points, 2 rebounds, and a steal per game, while shooting 41.7% from 3. He's still a sniper. That 41.7% from 3 mark is Gary Trent Jr.'s highest shooting season percentage-wise since 2019, 2020, when he was still in Portland. He was 20 years old. He didn't even really have the facial hair he does now. Almost no aura. 23 years old saying aura. Jesus Christ, where am I? Defensively, Gary Trent's a little bit of a mess. You'd think he's a good defender because of the steals, but in all reality, as a man-to-man defender, just doesn't really have it. The offensive rating for the opponent, like the team the Bucks are facing, goes up 7 whole points with Gary Trent Jr. on the floor. Oh my dear Jesus, that's a lot. However, the Bucks offensive rating goes up 4 points with Gary Trent Jr. on the floor. He's a much needed spark on the offensive end. Like I said, without key contributors like Bobby Portis, Giannis went down for a while. You've had guys miss a lot of time on this Milwaukee Bucks team, and you've needed an offensive spark at times, and Gary Trent Jr. has been that. He's a good scorer for a team that just needs scoring at times. In the main lineup he sees time with is Lillard, Gary Trent, Taurean Prince, Giannis, and Brook Lopez, which is a bad defensive lineup in terms of net rating. However, I can see how, but I also can't see how. I mean, you have Taurean Prince, Giannis, and Brook Lopez, who seem to be plus defenders in my eyes, but then you also have a backcourt of Gary Trent Jr. and Damian Lillard, who are not really big fans of defense. They're both just smaller for their position. In terms of shooting efficiency, Gary Trent's at a 57.5 effective field goal percentage clip. That's good enough for the 79th percentile. That's pretty good shooting. He's always been an accurate shooter, though, but like I said, his percentage-wise, he is up to his highest mark since before the pandemic. His three-point shooting at 41.7% puts him in the 92nd percentile as a three-point shooter. 92nd percentile. That means he's one of the elite shooters in the game right now. And they combined him, running him with some lineups with Derry Bird, AJ Green. That man can shoot too, so it makes it even more dangerous and pungent of an offense when you have those two out there together. They haven't run a ton of lineups together, but they have before. Trent even grades out as a positive mid-range shooter. He's in the 77th percentile for mid-range shooting, like all of the mid-range. He's 59 of 130 for his season total on mid-range attempts. That's a pretty good clip, about 47%, I believe, or somewhere around there. Although you can, rightfully so, dump on Gary Trent's defense. It is kind of rough. Like I said, he needed to be an offensive punch with Bobby Portis down in their bench, having kind of not a lot of scoring pre-trade deadline. Now there's Kevin Porter Jr. and Kyle Kuzma can help run the bench unit. Obviously, Kuzma's not coming off the bench, but he plays with the bench unit. You get what I mean. But they have needed some guys to step up and be contributors. Gary Trent Jr. has been one of them, and it was a guy who honestly was kind of a gamble coming out of Toronto. You didn't know what you were going to get because we've seen him play a role, but we've also seen him be very inconsistent as a role player. But now you're seeing him kind of be good. as a role player for this Milwaukee team. I mean, Giannis is teeing him up for open threes. If you play with Giannis, you're going to get open looks. It's not that hard. But for only $2 million this season, I mean, I don't think you can complain about production here, Bucks fans. $2 million, league minimum. And you're getting a guy who is one of the best three-point shooters in basketball, who can hit a mid-range shot, who can go off the dribble. And although he's not a great defender, he averages a steal a game, and that's been a consistent for his career, as he's been like a steal per game type of guy. So although his defense isn't great, at least he's getting a turnover per game, essentially. Much respect to GTJ, much respect to the Milwaukee Bucks. Number 2 on this list, I have the opposite of Gary Trent Jr. It is Chris Dunn. He's making $5 million this year with the Los Angeles Clippers. Like I said, polar opposite of Gary Trent Jr. in the sense of Gary Trent provides pure offense. He scores in bunches. That's what he does. He hits threes, and he can hit shots in the mid-range, shots off the dribble. Chris Dunn has made that $5 million by not being able to do anything offensively, really. But he is one of the purely most elite defenders in basketball. There was a time when Chris Dunn was actually just falling out of the league. Like, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or anything like that. There was a legit time where there was a worry that Chris Dunn wasn't going to be an NBA quality guy. Between 2021 and 2023, Chris Dunn played 40 games. 40. 3 seasons, 40 games. That's not a lot. There was a legit fear he was falling out of the league, and a former 5th overall pick was struggling. Nothing was guaranteed, so he realized he had to do it the get it out the mud route. And what's that? Being a full court pest of a defender and becoming one of the best defenders in basketball. You can keep a job that way. Like I said, the counting stats might not be sexy. 6 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 3 assists, but almost 2 steals per game. It doesn't jump off the page, but on court, he is productive and he plays well despite not putting up crazy counting stats. I said it before, I'll say it again. He is a pest. He will pick up your team's point guard 94 feet. He is not afraid to full court press your favorite point guard. He will also pluck your favorite player. Like, he will rip you you will get at least 1 possession per game from Chris Dunn where it's just a clean rip. And every once in a while, you love to watch a clean pick. You know what I mean? A guy just completely rip a guy of the ball. Chris Dunn also reads passing lanes like goddamn prime Charles Woodson at times. I mean, for Christ's sake, this guy jumps passing lanes like I've never seen before. I'm going to put a couple of clips up. It is just incredible the way that he reads eyes and he knows tendencies. He's also a big fan of doing the old, if the ball handler has his back to him, he will try and swipe from behind. He's a big gambler. In that sense, it is a gamble because if he misses, well, now you're playing 5-on-4. He's basically out of the play. But let's be honest, he's Chris Dunn. He averages over 2 steals per game. He's one of the best turnover machines in basketball. He's going to get it a lot more than he won't. The kicker, like I said, is Dunn can't shoot. He's shooting 30% from 3 this year. Oh my God, 30? He's very difficult to play out times. However, he is a 47% shooter in the mid-range. That's respectable. In terms of on-off numbers, the Clippers' offensive rating is about close to the same. It actually goes up 0.3 points with Chris Dunn on the floor. Being a net neutral is good, in my opinion. If you're not hurting your team and you're not making your team better as a role player, you're doing fine. Just be a net neutral and don't drag the team down. That's what Chris Dunn does, offensively at least. Defensively, the opposing team's offensive rating goes down over 4 points with Chris Dunn on the floor. He is a great defender. To the kids, he might not be the sexiest player you're ever going to see because he's not out there getting buckets. He's not the guard at Providence that we once saw, you know, the guy with the explosive athleticism who was killing people off the dribble and just being one of the best prospects in the draft. Obviously, we're not getting that at the NBA level, but the guy's managed to keep his head above water and keep a job in the NBA, and now he's even got a longer-term deal with his contract going for a few more years after this. So there's value in that. Not every player that reaches the NBA is going to be a star, and Chris Dunn, after being the 5th overall pick, had to find his way to stay in the NBA. He had to find a way to keep up that paycheck, you know? Nobody wants to fall out of the NBA. This is what these guys train their entire lives for. And so while it didn't work out perfectly for Chris Dunn in his NBA career, he still managed to keep his head above water and to keep a job, which is the most important thing, in my opinion, in the NBA, is can you keep a damn job? Being one of the best on-ball defenders, as well as being one of the better off-ball defenders in the NBA, is definitely a skill set that I just love to see. You don't see this type of effort from every guy in the NBA, but you do see it from Chris Dunn on a night-to-night basis. Also, at the time of writing this script and recording, it is currently Chris Dunn's birthday. Happy birthday, KD. At number 3 on the list, we have Goga Bitadze from the Orlando Magic, who is making about $9 million right now. Barely fits into the parameters, but he does. I'm going to be honest, Wendell Carter has been very underwhelming to me. He struggled to find his footing. Wendell Carter is shooting like 21% from 3 this season. Very disappointing for a guy that I was excited to see coming into the season. So, with Carter struggling, you need a backup. You need backup play. You need somebody who can step in and soak up some of those minutes. Fortunately for the Magic, they have 2. Mo Wagner, Goga Bitadze. They are a very good... It makes for a fearsome center rotation with Wendell Carter. And to be completely honest with you, Mo Wagner is another guy that I probably could have put in this video. I think he's making like 11 million, so I could have just upped the parameters, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be honest, I have a personal vendetta against Mo Wagner to the point where I just decided I do not see Mo Wagner, so I chose Goga Bitadze. Goga Bitadze's averages on the season, pretty modest. 7.5 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, with 1.5 blocks, and 0.7 steals per game. Over 2 stocks per game is good stuff. It's very solid considering he averages 21 minutes per game, and some nights barely gets any run at all. Some nights he just gets a coach's DNP. If you extrapolate his 21 minutes per game numbers out to a per 36, you would see 12.7 points, 11.5 rebounds, and 2.6 blocks. Obviously, I don't always believe in per 36 numbers because that assumes that the production will carry over for more minutes, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't always work like that. It does a lot of assuming and guesswork. Goga Bitadze has a block rate at 4.1%, which puts him in the 97th percentile of shot blockers. Also, he has a 1.4% steal rate, which puts him in the 68th percentile as a big man, by the way. Goga Bitadze has also had 26 games with 2 or more blocks, including 11 games with 3 or more blocks. The guy is a rim protector. He's also a very good offensive rebounder. I forgot to mention this in the per 36 numbers, but if you extrapolate his offensive rebounding to per 36, he averages like 4 a game, which is really good, actually. The Magic team offensive rating goes up almost 4 points with Goga on the floor, while the opponent's offensive rating goes down about a point with Goga on the floor. He's shown to be a net positive on both ends of the floor, despite the limited PT that he gets. Bitadze is also shown to be a good playmaker, at least in my opinion. He's not like a hub like Jokic or Sabonis, but he's shown the ability to do DHOs very well, and he makes the right read more times than not, in my opinion. He has 18 games of 3 or more assists this season, and mind you, he doesn't play a ton of minutes. He's only played 10 games of 30 or more minutes, so he has more games with 3 or more assists than he does with 30 or more minutes. Goga's a very talented player who just doesn't play a ton because they do have a deep center rotation along with a lot of wings. They have a lot of wings is what I'm trying to say. They have De Silva, Isaac, along with Carter and Wagner, and sometimes they go small. They'll just run Isaac at the 5, for Christ's sake. They have a bunch of lineups down there in Orlando, and sometimes they just don't feature Goga Bitadze, which I think is a little bit ridiculous in my opinion. He's been super good consistently for them. He's part of the reason that when Paolo and Franz went down, they were still able to keep up, and although they did start to lose a little bit, he was a big reason why they were able to stay at least close with teams. Like during the play-in tournament, he was really good against Milwaukee. So he's had some really good games in this season. It's just they have a bunch of players ahead of him. He's buried in the depth chart below other very talented players. And before we close off the Goga Bitadze segment, does anyone remember that picture of him at a draft media day where everyone was around Zion and nobody was around Goga? Goga's had a pretty damn good career, man. It's been a very respectable career for Goga Bitadze, to the point where he got an extension, man. When he was a rookie with Indiana, I didn't even know he was going to stay in the NBA. I'm going to be honest. He didn't play a ton in Indiana behind Miles Turner. When he signed with Orlando, I was like, it was a nothing burger. But now the guy's got an extension. He's getting paid $9 million to play 21 minutes. Like, that's respectable as hell. He's done a pretty damn good job as a backup in his tenure with Orlando. Much respect to Goga Bitadze. At number 4 on the list, we have my Boston Celtics' own Luke Kornet. Kornet's making $2 million, and he made the same amount last season, basically, and he won a championship. Kornet, otherwise known as the Unicornet, in my heart, in my mind at least as well, has been under the radar despite some very good play for the latter half of 2 seasons. Last season, Kornet, he could be a very valuable piece on a championship team. Obviously, he won the damn championship, so he proved that he could actually play minutes and be a productive player on a team that won. But I'm going to be honest, he was not as good last season as he has been this season. This season, it feels like Luke Kornet has been way better than last, in my opinion. Similarly to Goga Bitadze, One of Kornet's biggest strengths is his offensive rebounding, but his biggest strength is his offensive rebounding, in my opinion. He is maybe the best offensive rebounder in basketball. He's in the 89th percentile in offensive rebounding. He's very good at getting a good angle on the defender, and then he just likes volleyball, slapping offensive rebounds back out to the perimeter. It's very smart because the Celtics run a lot of 4-out, 1-in when he's on the floor, so if you slap that ball to the three-point line, there's a good chance somebody's going to be there to get it. But Kornet's turned into a very good rim protector as well as a good passer this season. For his size, Luke Kornet is a good passer, in my opinion. He's also a decent finisher. But we could start off with just some basic stats. Kornet has logged about 100 more minutes than last season at the time of writing and recording. In that 100 extra minutes, Kornet has put up 30 more offensive rebounds and about 30 more assists as well. That's very solid production. Kornet's assist rate has gone up about 3% from last season, and his assist to usage ratio is in the 91st percentile, which would land him in the highest of his career. He's playing very smart, and he knows that if he runs that high pick and roll, him and Tatum usually, Tatum will get blitzed on the screen. All he's got to do is get the short roll around the free throw line. Once he catches at the free throw line, you got two options there. Either A, if there's a defender in front of you, you spray out to a three-point shooter, or B, if there's nobody in front of you, you just go dunk the damn ball. And he's finishing pretty well around the rim. For finishing, he is shooting 76% at the rim on 158 attempts, which is closing in on a career high in terms of attempts. And honestly, if he shoots a higher percentage, like 76% on more attempts, I'd say that is a career best finishing season. Luke Kornet, in my opinion, went from unplayable big man, backup big, third big, honestly, maybe even fourth big, to honestly a quality backup big man who I'm worried is going to leave the Celtics this offseason because, like I said, he's only making $2 million this year, and how he's played this season, he is worth more than $2 million. That's for damn sure. Plus the Kornet contest. I'm going to be honest, any team that pays him automatically gets a W because the Kornet contest is now on your team. It is one of the most amazing things in basketball, in my opinion, to see a guy who's 7 foot just jump up like this to block the shooter's vision so that way he can't see the rim. It's genius but stupid at the same time, and I love it. Very good screener, very good passer, good finisher, and a good defender, and a great offensive rebounder. Offensive rebounding is his greatest attribute, but he does everything super well this season, it feels like, at least, and I'm just very proud of where Luke Kornet's kind of ended up from where he started. Watching him with the Knicks in Chicago, you'd have never guessed that that guy would have been a very productive player on a championship quality team. Could go on about my glorious king, Luke Kornet, but however, I will leave my Homer bias into another video. And lastly, the fifth player on the list, I have the Dancing Bear, or just Dancing Bear, whichever we want to call him. He's making $2 million in the Philadelphia 76ers, and his name is Guerschon Yabusele. Yabu will forever be a Celtics legend in my heart. I'm going to be honest, he signed with Philadelphia, and although I hate Philadelphia, I hate the 76ers, I dislike them as a franchise. I like the fans, though. Subscribe. I cannot bring myself to dislike Yabusele or to not root for Guerschon Yabusele. He's just awesome, bro. In the Olympics, he was amazing, actually. That's kind of how he ended up getting back into the NBA, was such great play in the Olympics with France. He was amazing. He had a couple of nice dunks. He dunked on LeBron. That was hilarious. One of the most funny things I've ever seen on a basketball court, to be honest with you. To see a man of Guerschon Yabusele's height and weight, I'll say, get up and dunk on maybe the most in-shape player in NBA history in LeBron James was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Yabusele is making less than $3 million this season, and he's averaging 10.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 2 assists on 50, 39, 74 shooting splits. That's insane to me. He's shooting almost 40% from 3. Yabu has an effective field goal percentage of 59.8%, which is good enough for the 71st percentile. In my opinion, that's even more of a compliment to him, though, because of the fact that the guys that he's supposed to be playing with, Maxey, George, Embiid, have all missed a considerable amount of time. Embiid and George are done for the season. Maxey might as well be. There's no point in him coming back. So with those three big guys out, teams have to game plan for Yabusele more. They are game planning for Yabusele more. He's maybe their most consistent offensive player with those three guys out. So they have to game plan for Yabusele. And he's still efficient. He's still killing the game. Yabusele has impressed me just beyond belief this year. The 76ers points per 100 possessions jumps up 6 with Yabusele on the floor. That's actually a lot. That's a very big jump. Before this season, Yabusele had 2 career games of 10 or more points. This season alone, Yabusele has 6 games of 20 or more points. There's a reason the guy was a trade target at mid-season. He uses his body well. He gets into the lane. He can shoot the 3 if you need him to. He's a very productive role player. I'm very sad that Philly didn't trade him, though. No offense, Philadelphia, that your team has been terrible this season, and I wanted to see my guy on a contender. I was actually kind of hoping Boston would make a move for him. It would have been such a beautiful reunion. The on-off numbers also show Yabusele has been maybe the 76ers' best player and most consistent outside of Maxey. He's just been incredible this season, man. Gershon Yabusele deserves his flowers. You know, he's a guy who was kind of a meme player. If I'm being honest, he was a meme player when he first came into the NBA with the Celtics. That's how he got the nickname the Dancing Bear, because he used to dab after he hit threes and everything. He was a meme when he came in. Now he's like a legit piece on a good team. Well, he's currently not on a good team, but what I'm saying is that he's going to be a good piece on a good team. Just give him wait till the offseason. Hopefully he signs somewhere where he can be productive, and hopefully he doesn't like take a big bag with Charlotte just to go get paid and, you know, play for nothing. As you can tell, we've gone through all 5 guys. If you've enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe like I've said before. As you can tell, we've run out of players, but I do have one little last monologue type of thing. Guys like Gary Trent Jr., Luke Cornett, and Gershon Yabusele are all up for a new contract this season. Now, are they going to get it? I don't know. I can't guarantee it, to be honest with you. Luke Cornett, maybe. But Trent and Yabusele definitely deserve a bag this season, but it's definitely not guaranteed after this season. Why? The new CBA, of course. Can't guarantee that any of these guys are going to get long-term deals in the NBA next season simply because of these new cap aprons. Teams are afraid to go over the second apron. Teams are afraid to spend too much money on a roster. It's reasonable because of the apron issues, but it also sucks because it's definitely terrible seeing that quality role players are taking far less than they're worth simply because teams don't want to pay. Quality role players aren't getting paid like they should be, in my opinion. Somebody like Gary Trent Jr. signing a 1-year deal during the offseason was definitely one of the more puzzling moves in my mind for, like, how did this happen? He was productive just about everywhere he went. I get it, he's not a perfect player, and he definitely doesn't deserve, you know, 3 years, $150 million for Christ's sake. But he deserves maybe, like, I don't know, 4 years, 60, maybe, like something like that. Maybe like 4 years 50, 4 years 40, somewhere in that ballpark. He definitely deserves more than 1 year, $2 million. However, quality role players getting paid less and less means one thing. I'll be able to remake this video next season after the offseason when eventually some role player that played way better than he was worth gets paid $3 million to go play for a contender because of these cap aprons. So it allows me to make more videos like this. Like I said, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those wonderful things. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to go catch the game. See you guys in the next one.